Come with me to a magical place where being labeled the pork queen is a compliment, where being nice is just a way of life, and where all leaders of the free world must pass through. Welcome to Iowa. Whether you're a current Iowan, an Iowa expat, or an Iowan at heart, this show is for you. This is the Iowa Podcast. Real Iowans, real talk, no drama. I'm Justin Brady, and you're probably familiar with the name Caitlin Clark. Don't worry, she's not in here. We have reached out to Caitlin Clark. I mean, who hasn't? But she made news when she got injured. And so I had a listener, if I'm being honest, it was my mother, and she reached out and she was like, hey, this is, I don't know if we talk enough about sports injuries, why they happen, is this a trend? Because, now it's in top of mind and it's something we're wondering about. And so I've asked Dr. Brett McDonough, the founder of Delta Health. You guys focus on functional medicine, chiropractic, massage, sports medicine, and soft tissue therapy. And this is definitely your area. So I appreciate you coming into the studio.
Yeah, I appreciate having the opportunity to get here and sports and injuries and everything in between that and around that has become such a huge topic anymore, both with youth as well as, even upper levels. Obviously, Super Bowl week, it's become more of a topic coming up here.
That's true. So before we get into everything, as a reminder, make sure to subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on every app. And then make sure to tell your neighbor if you like the show, because, that's really the number one way we grow this show is by people telling other people. So, Dr. Brett, you have some really cool experience. You spent a lot of time with the Minnesota Vikings and the Minnesota Twins. You traveled with UFC. You worked with NASCAR. And then you, of course, worked with multiple Olympic athletes and triathletes in track and field and wrestling. Did I get that all right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
A hodgepodge of a lot of random stuff. Yeah. Makes me feel kind of important sometimes.
Yeah. If you can bring UFC people back from the dead, you can do anything.
That's true. It's amazing, too, like in a high contact sport like that, and people think those guys are just a bunch of meatheads beating each other up. But the high-level people understand the value of taking care of their body.
Right.
It's their paycheck.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And so those are a lot of the people you've worked with are people that have to take it extremely seriously because it is their paycheck, especially in professional sports. So what is the state of sport? The Caitlin Clark thing obviously made national news, and we do hear more and more about sports injuries. Are they actually increasing, or are we just hearing more about it?
Yeah, and I think it's a fair question because we're obviously exposed to a lot more input around us from social media to the news. And then a person like Caitlin Clark, who's literally probably she's like LeBron James-ish right now in sports.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's such a freak thing that kind of happened on the court after a game. And you look at her earning potential as well, too, and the effects of an injury on something like that.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
So I actually was... this might tie this together a little bit. I was watching the Nolan Ryan documentary the other night, which if people have not watched that, take the time to watch it because he is a straight redneck from Texas that learned how to throw a baseball really fast. He was the first ever $1 million contract in professional sports. Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. His first season with the Mets, he made $7,000, and he worked a part-time job that summer after winning the World Series. His rookie year, he won the World Series his rookie year. Worked a part-time job cleaning air vents out back in his hometown.
That's crazy.
Yep. So anyways, long story short, first $1 million contract. Then all of a sudden he starts having arm problems. And these arm problems are repetitive type issues, which is this Tommy John surgery people are familiar with. Tommy John surgery is a perfect example of the amount of injury increase we've had over time. It used to be, even 80s and 90s, you'd hear about it Major League Baseball players here and there. Right now, the majority of Tommy John surgeries are actually happening in people younger than 18 years old.
What?
Yeah, so sports injuries, I think, have become more of a commonality because of the load. And the load and the intensity we put on kids at a younger age, younger athletes whose bodies aren't fully mature. Now, all of a sudden, they're kind of getting set up for a little bit of problems down the road. You're seeing injuries in 18-year-olds you typically wouldn't see until somebody was 28.
Really?
Type of thing.
Okay.
I think that's why you more prevalence of them.
So yes, more frequency, but also earlier than is. So you're saying you're seeing injuries that normally happen when you're older are happening when people are still children, when they're like 18 and maybe younger.
Correct. I mean, the research is starting to show that there's more injuries now in the sub 18-year-old and particularly the sub 14-year-old population group because of the load and the intensity of practice and game time situations. I think of different sports, like a lot of these kids now, they're playing baseball, for example. They're playing 60 games in a season at 12 years old.
Oh.
And back in the day, again, it was 20 games, 30 games tops type of deal. So you're putting a lot of load on different things. And now all of a sudden this kid's getting to, say they're 22 years old and they're professional sports or somewhere in that ballpark on there. They've got a lot more miles on the proverbial car at this point in time.
Oh, sure.
And things starting to break. They're starting to wear out.
Wow.
And that's become, again, more of a mainstream thing because you're hearing about it more. Kids having surgeries. I mean, ACL surgeries, for example, is up 400%.
What?
In the last
ACL surgeries is up 400%. In younger people or just across the board?
Up to I think it was 22 years old is what they're
up to 22 years old.
Correct. So it's a higher amount.
Whoa.
On there.
So that's only people under 22. ACL surgeries are up 400. You said 400%?
400%.
That's
yep.
insane.
And then shoulder and elbow surgery like this Tommy John, they're talking 500% numbers increase.
I don't know what a Tommy John surgery is.
So it's like a pitcher. So a pitcher throwing a ball.
Like elbow.
Yep. Your
okay, got
ulnar
it.
collateral ligament gets worn out and creates a problem. So they go in and they basically repair it. But they're actually doing this now, preventative Tommy John surgeries even with people because of the prevalence of it. And they actually show it sometimes increases their performance as well too. So now you have people again going under the knife for reasons probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So
sounds like there's I don't want to guess, but it sounds to me like high risk.
Correct. Yeah, and you're exactly right with that. And I think again, the mentality in sports has gone from, especially in youth sports, has gone from how do we develop this kid from a longevity perspective, as well as it's not so much about winning and losing when you're 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, to now all of a sudden that's the focus at 8, 10, and 12. Because of that, now we're doing things different. We're spending more time on sports specialization than we did before, for example, which creates more repetitive type injuries that consistently happen in some of these athletes that we maybe didn't see before because the kid wasn't spending so much time doing that specific sport all year round type of thing. There's a lot of theories out there in regards to why we're seeing more injuries, but I think the biggest thing that's coming back to is, again, the youth load. The load plus intensity equals increased amounts of injuries.
When you say specialization, you're not talking specialization like someone's a kicker on a football team. You're talking about most team sports are specialized. Like if you're a quarterback or you're a tight end or if you're a point guard, you're doing a lot of the same motions and same muscles repeatedly. Those are the increase in injuries, people who aren't well-rounded athletes but are more focused?
Correct, yep. And really focused even from just a sport specific. So a 12-year-old who played 4 sports, now that average 12-year-old's playing maybe 1.5 sports now. So they're playing basketball year-round versus doing basketball in the winter, track and field in the spring, baseball in the summer, and then football in the fall.
Oh.
Just that high load of the same activities, repetition over and over and over and over. And they're not getting the rest time now to let certain body parts recover a little bit. And again,
oh, interesting.
So that's the specialization. They've actually gone from what they used to call chronic overuse injuries to sports specialization injuries, because that's what they're seeing now. Chronic overuse repetition is due to sports specialization issues that go with it. So it's just kind of goes hand in hand. Like if you don't change sports, you will create problems. And there was a study in 2017, University of Wisconsin, they did that kids who specialized in sports had it was just shy of two times greater likelihood of lower extremity injuries.
Wow.
So,
okay.
And again, 2 times doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's doubling.
Correct. And that's what we're starting to see is just these things that, again, don't typically happen in kids are happening to kids more now.
So is it a matter of, I want to ask about tech as well, but is it a matter of if you want to just play basketball, great, but also hit the gym and also do some swimming and keep your body guessing and work the other muscles because those muscles help stabilize the other muscles, or do yoga? Is it simple as, okay, that's fine if you want to stick with basketball. You don't need to do all the other sports, but get your workouts in that keep your body guessing. Is that kind of the general idea?
Correct. Yep. And I think that's the part. I mean, you look at I've had the opportunity again to be around some pretty high-level athletes, and the common theme amongst a lot of them is that they're really, really good at knowing when to back off the sport-specific type training. And that's a lot of like for example, like NFL players in the off-season, they're not out on a football field all the time running routes and doing blocking drills and things like that they do in season. To your point, they're in a weight room. They're working with a trainer who specifically is rotating workout things. I mean, if you went to the gym every day and did the exact same workout over and over, guess what you're going to end up with? Tendonitis problems. You're going to end up with chronic repetitive stress injuries that accumulate over time because you're literally, it's a race car. You drive around the track the same exact way. One side of the tires wears out more than the other side because of that. Versus if you went multiple different directions, you don't get that.
Right. And because a lot of these are students, it's not like a bunch of high schools have this like tons of money for nutritional trainers and fitness and medical evaluations. And they're not probably being able to track each individual athlete to make sure they're mixing up their workouts correctly.
Correct.
So this stuff happens because, as you said, schedules are increasing. I would dare I say competition's increasing. I feel like, parents these days are a lot more like pushing their kids to do this stuff than maybe they were in the past. Maybe I'm wrong in that. But one of the things, like we do have like more tech and there's more focus on like specializing helmets to protect kids. And there's more focus on the technology. I feel like there's more knowledge. Now we have like podcasts like the Huberman Lab podcast or there's more access to these resources. So is it a matter of parents just don't know where to look or coaches, it's not on their radar, they don't have the capacity to distribute that information? What's the breakdown? Why isn't this knowledge getting to the kids and the parents?
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And it kind of goes back, this is a little bit of watching it from a distance, a little bit of opinion, as well as a little bit of looking at some of the research here lately of like, I go back about the what's the focus here? And when the focus is put so much on winning, we start to disregard things that actually might be advantageous for our child, for our kids. I mean, the kids, and I'm talking even 18 years old, like a 17-year-old kid who throws 85 miles an hour in high school should not be pitching 3 times a week. But when he's the stud on the baseball team and you're looking to win a state title, that coach might be like, you know what, maybe we'll just stretch this a little further. Or now you watch the high school, or not high school, but the Little League World Series, for example. It's on every summer. And you watch some of these things and all of a sudden you start to see same thing. Same kids pitching 2-3 times a week. I don't care if he's 12 or 14. Like, we're making a decision on trying to win a game versus what's in the best interest of that kid long term. And to your point, you mentioned it there too, is like parents start to fall within that camp. They want their kids to succeed. They want their kids to get a college scholarship. They want their kids to be an all-star. Now, all of a sudden, and this is one of the things in terms of injury prevention that they've talked about, is that one of the biggest reasons why kids end up with injuries is poor communication. Kid starts to say something, says, you know what, I'm noticing this, and the parents or the coach is like, you know what, not that big of a deal, not that big of a deal, not that big of a deal. Now, all of a sudden, we start to creep down the path of chronic problems, or we start to create more than just a chronic problem, but an acute type problem that prevents the kid from participating or may actually end their career at some point in time because it was not addressed originally when the kid first started to say something about it.
So the desire to like push your kid in a good way. I'll position. Obviously, there are some stupid parents that like do toxic things to their kids and like my arm's falling off. Push through it.
Correct.
You wimp. So
there's a fine line there.
Yeah, obviously there's some idiots like that out there. But for the parents that actually care a lot and they're just like they're pushing their kid because they don't want him to be a quitter and they want him to work hard in life. They want him to succeed. For these parents, focusing on them, what you're saying is sometimes you need to really pay attention to the words your kid is using.
Correct.
And because, they may actually be in pain and you trying to be a good parent and like push through adversity is like, you'll be fine, recover, you can shake it off. What should parents be looking for specifically? Are there certain words students use? Are there questions you can go through? Do you immediately just go get them evaluated? What's the right process?
Yep, and you kind of hit on a couple things right there. One is the communication piece of it, like asking them. Yeah. Because sometimes kids aren't going to be the ones that are going to complain about something.
Yeah. Is it discomfort or is it actually pain?
Correct. Yeah, yep. Does it prevent them? Does it change their gait patterns, for example? Does it change how they
that's interesting.
Throw a ball? Does it... do they stop looking forward to practice or competition because it bothers them consistently on that end of it? Those are easy things to kind of pay attention to. get a trusted person that you can see your child when they're healthy and not just when they're broken. So that way they have a baseline as well too. Who's your structural person? Who's the person that looks at them? And again, a coach is going to be a little biased.
So not the parents, maybe not the coaches.
Correct. Yep. Find somebody you can trust that can look at these types of things. Again, high-level athletes. Again, and you talked about the tech piece. Like, why do we not use more of this stuff? What's the issue with it? It's resources. I mean, fancy equipment's expensive. And some of these schools and clubs and things like that don't have the funds to do it, or parents don't want to put the money into it. But part of that tech piece is having the right people on your team. And that's, again, high-level athletes have a trainer, a nutritionist, all these different pieces to the puzzle that help put these things together. I remember working with, when I was in Minneapolis, one of the Vikings, who's a Hall of Famer now. And I always thought this guy was kind of a yahoo in regards to, he'd say stupid things in the media, this and that. And I was like, he must not be that intelligent. And then when I got the opportunity to work with him, though,
was it Randy Moss?
Possibly.
Because he had a mouth a little bit.
Correct,
he loved to get the media riled up. That's super
and
funny.
And it was some of these guys, and I have two stories with, but Randy was a guy that dude knew how to take care of himself. There's a reason why he played 18 years in the NFL. There's a reason why he was just as good, almost just as good in the 18th year as he was in his first year. The guy was meticulous with how he took care of himself. He had a person for everything. And he was kind of on that cutting edge piece. It's the Tom Brady mentality, where you have your team. It's the pit crew for the race car. Like, who's those people that keeps this thing working at a high level on there? And if a parent looks at it from a kid perspective, like, who's my team? You may not have the same team, but you know what? As a group of parents, what if 5 of you, 10 of you as families said, you know what? Let's hire a nutritionist for our 10 kids. Split the cost up a little bit. Who's the structural person that you can start getting input on? Maybe you see them once a month or whatever. That helps give you a baseline to pick things off before they become bigger issues with it. And it's a proactive, preventative measure is going to create a whole heck of a lot of problems down the road, because when you wait until a problem starts, you've already gone 10 steps down the wrong path.
Oh, yeah. So, like, preserving, if you really do care and your kid wants a career in sports, by ignoring these things and not giving them the right team, and like you said, it doesn't have to be like 6 highly paid experts. But by ignoring these things, you're pretty much guaranteeing they're not going to have a career. Correct. Or at least a collegiate career in a full ride scholarship or a good scholarship. You mentioned communication being a big aspect to prevention or preventative approaches. Earlier, you were talking about like recovery time as well. Is this just like off-season kind of thing, or is this telling your student, hey, like, you need to get enough sleep, because if you don't get enough sleep, your body's not going to recover and you're going to really suck on the field? Like, is this part of that too? Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's, again, been pretty fascinating looking at some of the research they've done with youth athletics now. And sleep is actually the number one predictor of youth injuries right now.
Number one predictor.
Number one predictor of youth injuries. And it's like the threshold's 8 hours of sleep. And again, I know I have 3 little kids right now myself, and try to get them to bed at a certain time and sleeping past a certain time and all these different things. There's a lot to it. But at the same time, I think from school perspective, like a student with the proper amount of rest, they function higher at school. Athletics is a huge thing. If your body does not get the amount of rest, and again, sleep is number one on the list at that point, but there's also the rest piece in regards to practices. Like 62% of all sports injuries happen in practice, not in competition.
Really? Because you'd naturally think it's more aggressive in competition.
Correct, yeah.
And so you're taking the big hits, or the team's getting in your head, but that's not true.
No, and here's why. And it kind of, as I dug into it a little bit more, is fascinating, is that in practice many times you don't warm up as thoroughly.
Oh, okay.
You're sloppier with... you don't have as much focus, for lack of a better way to describe it. So when you lack the focus, now all of a sudden you get a little goofy with how you run through the drills, and now all of a sudden you step funny, or somebody runs into the other person, and these injuries happen. And that's the part which, again, and I go back to the rest thing, like if you're not getting the rest from some of these things, like practices, for example, they can't be 100% intensity every day of the week. And this is where coaches have to get to. A good coach knows when to push and when to pull back. And from an Iowa perspective, I think of Dan Gable. Dan Gable's like the epitome of wrestling. And the guy was crazy, crazy intense majority of the time. But he knew when to let off a guy. He knew when he was getting to a break point, he's like, I need to give him a break. I'm going to sit them for a week. I'm going to sit them for 2 weeks. That break, that rest now allows them to come back stronger with it. And again, parents, youth coaches can take a huge piece out of that book, like your ability to know when a kid is at that wall, back off them. I mean, physically and mentally, they need a break. And if you don't give them that break, you're getting diminishing returns as time goes on.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So you're telling me that I probably, at least for me, because I'm 40 now, so I'm hearing something I didn't want to hear, I guess, which is I should be doing warm-ups when I go to the gym.
Correct. Yep.
But it takes too much time. That's why I don't do it, because I just want to get into the workout.
Yep.
I don't want to spend the time. And so what I'm hearing is this is a common refrain that people don't want to spend the time, but as a result, they're injuring themselves.
Correct. And it's just, I think from a biomechanical perspective, like when you do the proper warm-up stuff, when you work on mobility just as much as you do as strength or conditioning or whatever you want to call it on there, that mobility piece and the biomechanical like balance and function and coordination of movements is proper because the mobility is good, you get so much more out of your body. And it's more forgiving. Your room for error becomes that much greater. And that's the part, the 10 minutes you invest, I use the word invest, on the front end pays off much greater dividends down the road in terms of the quality of workout you're going to have after that, as well as the longevity of the time that you can continue to do those activities over the course of time.
So if I warm up better, my actual workout that day is more effective.
Absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
So it's it's not a waste of time.
No, it's an investment.
It's not just about preventing
injury.
You're
not spending time, you're investing time doing that warm-up routine that's on there. And here's the other thing I would add to that as well, too. And this goes for the layperson, whether you're an athlete or not an athlete. Like, for example, you do need rest days from workouts. Like, if you go 5 days a week hard, you're going to have issues that create problems down the road. My rule of thumb is, like, if I'm going to work out hard a couple of days and I take a quote-unquote rest day, I am still going to do, I call it an active rest day, where I'm going to still do some mobility stuff. I'm going to do some stretching stuff. I'm going to work on maybe some of those things that are creating some, like, minute problems. Again, I'm listening to my body. I'm communicating with my body, say, you know what, it's telling me this. What do I need to do to resolve this? So I'm still doing that every single day. Recoveries every day. Workouts are scattered in regards to that part.
This would be like more stretching and more yoga kind of stuff and more balanced stuff.
Yep. And if people don't know what to do, go to YouTube. YouTube's an amazing place where you could be like, you know what, what's a 5-minute yoga routine at home for a 35-year-old female?
Sure.
You might, again, hopefully you get something simple, but it does not need to be long.
Yeah, and obviously I'll put, obviously make sure it's someone's qualified. It's not some like teenager in their room saying,
Correct.
Here's what I learned. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
My friend taught me this.
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there as well, too.
This, I promise it won't break your back.
Yep.
Are we seeing students start to drop out then of sports because of injuries or wear and tear or the bad news? Are we actually seeing that impact students now, or is there no change?
Yep. There's a recent study showed that 70% of kids quit sports by the age of 14 right now.
Whoa.
So 70% of kids who start a sport before 14 are now no longer participating at the age of 14.
Is that because of sports injuries, or they're tired, or they're being pushed too hard? Do they know why?
I think it's a physical and probably it's again opinion here, but 30% physical reasons why. In other words, there's injuries, and then the 70% comes back to the perceived pressure that comes from it, and just the demand on kids right now, their schedule. I mean, kids don't get the chance to be kids in many cases. Like sports and that load we talked about. It's
supposed to be fun.
Correct. Fun now is like fourth on the list in regards to that. Not in all circumstances, but it's. And I help coach some youth athletics as well too, and that's been. When you can sit back and be like, this is what we should do, and this, that, and then you get into it and trying to keep it fun. You have to be really intentional to do that as well too. But at that age, like if it's not fun, they will not continue to participate on there. Interesting.
We talked about like sleep, like preventative stuff as far as working out, sleep, that kind of. Is there? I hate this, but as you know, I think we're in alignment on this one. One of the things that gets left off the table as far as overall health and nutrition and recovery is nutrition. And so are there nutrition things? I would even say, you don't have to comment on this, I'm sure you have opinions on this. I would even say healthcare in general and doctors in general completely neglect nutrition, much to our detriment as a society. So are there areas that students can focus on from a nutritional standpoint? Because I get it, they're kids, they can eat junk food, eat whatever they want, and they'll be fine. But are these junk food decisions, are these nutritional decisions causing injuries and making recovery more difficult?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the short answer to it. The longer answer to it is just our and let me take one step back with what you said there about the healthcare system, what we read, what we see in regards to what we should do. We don't get great advice. We get advice based upon profits. We get advice based upon convenience. We don't get advice based upon actual what's the outcome long term. And I think this is not rocket science to understand this or see this, but like processed sugar type of food, processed carbohydrate stuff, high sugar density stuff, sports drinks fall into this category as well too.
Yes.
That we're given literally 5-gallon buckets of this stuff at practice that's just full of sugars.
Yeah,
on
it's
there.
true.
Sugar creates inflammation. Inflammation is like gasoline on a smoldering fire that you're putting in there. So every time you consume high amounts of sugar during workouts, after workouts, it's not in a balanced way, not in a good fashion, which could be an hour-long conversation in general. You're putting more gasoline on the fire. And what happens is people start to develop kind of a global level of inflammation in their body. In other words, everything's just kind of inflamed all the time. And with that, now all of a sudden, again, the room for error gets smaller. Now the things that maybe didn't cause a problem before are starting to cause a problem. That knee starts to hurt a little bit. The tendon starts to ache. The shoulder starts to hurt a little bit more. My back starts to ache a little bit more. My recovery from my workout seems to take longer now, and I'm just getting older. No, you're not. You're eating too much junk.
Yeah.
The other piece of it as well, too, I hate to call people out on it, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
The other piece of this is also we fail in so many ways. I don't remember the exact number of it, but the amount of percentage of Americans who get enough protein in their diet to make up for their activity levels is really, really, really small right now. And kids, again, you think about the amount that they're involved, the intensity of the load on them. I'm keep going back to that. Intensity of the load demands they have a higher level of protein. Protein's hard to prepare. Protein takes longer. Protein's not as accessible in a lot of different ways. Without protein, though, you don't rebuild tissue. When tissue breaks down, you create more inflammation, you create more problems.
Yeah.
Period. So less sugar, more good protein. That's where you start.
Water.
Yes.
Is this still a thing?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Are we still not getting enough water, or are we getting enough water? Is there a general rule of thumb? Like, because I know in the gym, I still see like the dudes with the gallon jug carrying the water around. Is this necessary, or is it one of the things that, look, just don't neglect water. If you're thirsty, please drink water.
Yep. Water is obviously super critical in so many different ways on there. And honestly, like if you just prepare better, like take a water bottle with her wherever you go.
Oh, sure.
Kids from a perspective of like youth athletes, and again, the load they're putting on themselves and the sweat that they're losing and the activity levels they have. Put it this way, like if a kid is 100 pounds, they should have at least 100 ounces of water a day. So just kind of give you a relative idea on there. Like every pound of body weight should equal the amount of ounces of water they get, plus some when they're high levels of activity and they're sweating a little bit more that's on there. And again, water is just one of those things from a recovery perspective, as well as from a performance perspective. Muscles are more pliable.
So no Gatorade.
Correct.
Water.
Because
the Gatorade has the sugar in it. If you want, I would assume, I know this because, if you want electrolytes and you want minerals and like magnesium, you can there are supplements for that.
Correct. And there's even things you can mix with your water that...
True, that's true. There's like powders and stuff that have no sugar that are good nutritional supplements.
And not a bunch of other added junk that goes into them that make it taste a little bit better. The other thing I always recommend people, like take a lemon... juice type of thing and put a little bit of lemon juice in with your water. It tastes better, as well as too, you get some nutrients from the lemon juice in there as well too that helps you consume that. But just start making that a priority and it'll start to happen a little bit more.
Interesting. It's interesting that you say about like interesting on the topic of nutrition. There was this morning, this is a whole side story, but this morning on like a Twitter Spaces, I participate on Twitter Spaces. It's actually called X now. Yep. And there was an MD in this group that was talking. He said that students, he does career days, and students are asking him like, oh, I want to be a doctor. And he's like, I'm telling people right now, don't. Like doctors don't really help people. Like medicine has changed, and there's so many bad things in medicine right now. maybe hold off on that for a while and go into a field where you can actually help people.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, and there are just certain things that I feel like people should go out and educate themselves from quality sources, obviously. But like parents should be listening to like podcasts like the Huberman Lab, right? Like this guy has a great show. There are a lot of good resources out there that I feel like people aren't neglecting. Like one of the things that I think it was, I don't remember the resource, so don't quote me on that. But one of the things is like we were getting away from red meat. And like red meat is actually like a superpower for like, and again, I'm not a health expert. Go get your health advice from a qualified person. But even like red meat is a really good protein that helps in muscle recovery and stuff like that. And sometimes we hear people like, oh, we should eat less red meat. I'm like, less red meat? Are you serious? Yeah. Anyway,
both sides of the fence. Yeah.
I'll get off my.
No, and to your point there, I mean, it is so hard anymore to sift through like what is good information, what is not good information, and I go back to like the analogy again of like a house on fire, and if your house catches on fire, you call the fire department. That's the current traditional medical system. Like if things are on fire, they come to put it out. That's where you need your drugs, your potions, your lotions, your surgeries type of thing to put it out. If your house is now, the fire's put out and you got to rebuild it, you don't call the fire department back to rebuild it on there. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't come with hammers and nails. They come with axes and hoses and things like that.
Yeah.
Who's that team?
Sure.
Who's your resources? Who's your construction workers?
Right.
Who's that group that you bring back? And I think, again, as we're like beaten up with so much information now, like what do I believe? Because to your point, like if you skew a study a certain way one way or the other, you can make anything sound better. Like red meat's good, red meat's bad.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Vegetables are good for you, vegetables are bad for you type of deal. Like use some logic.
Right.
And I always go back to like how we're designed to live, what are we designed to eat?
God gave you a critical thinking device in between your ears.
Yep.
Make sure to use it, get resources, ask good questions, find qualified people. Don't listen to just one group of experts.
Yes.
If someone makes a claim, go straw man that argument, steel man another one, decide for yourself.
Yep. And follow people that if they are successful with what you want to do, start looking at what they're doing.
That's a good point.
Follow their advice.
If you see someone who's super healthy and sleeps great and has like a six-pack, maybe go ask them what they're doing differently.
It's the Tom Brady example I go back to. Like the guy played till 43 years old in his NFL career. I'm probably going to, if I want to have longevity in my sports career, what'd that guy do?
Right.
Type of thing.
Right. Go ask.
Yeah, correct. It's all out there too.
Brett McDonough, founder of Delta Health. What's the website? How can people reach out to you if they have more questions or if their student has some pain or if they just have like general sports questions or injury-related questions? For sure. Yep. DeltaDSM.com is our website that's on there. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all those fun things as well too. We have started to do more classes. Like we have a YouTube channel as well too that we try to put out. We'll put out quick videos on 10-minute like stretching routine for the morning or kids athletic type stuff and things like that. I've just been very much more. Our kids need more help right now, and to the point of like sifting through the crap. Like there needs to be more truth that's out there right now. And I do think there's some really good sources. You mentioned a couple of them even on there. We're trying to help sift through some of that and put that in a common spot. And I found that YouTube seems to be a really good platform for that right now. And that's just Delta Health on YouTube. Okay, excellent. Dr. Brett McDonough, thank you so much for coming on the Iowa podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. And to my fellow Iowans, Iowa expats, and Iowans at heart, thanks for listening and subscribing to the Iowa podcast.